It is a bit hard to book, of course, but it's worth the effort.
So number 9 is actually the whole reason I got into points in the first place.
At that point, I'm a bit iffy.
Very sorry, but I ate the Western dish on the way home.
That's okay.
G'day, I'm Tobias Venus, and if you've got 100,000 Qantas points burning a hole in your Qantas point account, well, I've got the man who can help you spend them in the best way possible. It's senior content producer, Brandon Liu. Thanks for joining us, Brandon.
Thanks for having me again, Toby.
Nice. So you've written an article about this. Qantas has changed things a little bit. Everything's gotten a bit more expensive.
It has, yes.
By how much?
Well, up to 20%, so it is quite significant, especially for the longer flights.
Nice, okay. So it's a little bit more expensive today, but we're going to go through Brandon's previous article about how to spend 100,000 Qantas points and see if they're still worth doing or not. So let's start with number 1.
Yeah, so number 1, it's on everyone's bucket list, Emirates First Class.
Nice.
And luckily we can still book that from Sydney to Christchurch, and I know that you did that yourself, right? How was it?
Yes, so in my first week here at Point Hacks, I was tasked with taking the Sydney to Christchurch flight on Emirates First Class in their A380. I'd never flown first class before.
Yeah. How about business?
I had flown business class before, but just domestically in the A330 to Perth, which is international business class, basically, minus the pajamas. But the Emirates First Class, it just makes you feel special. As soon as you start, you're in the Qantas First Lounge. If you're departing from Sydney, you have access to all the great food and beverages there. And then you get on the plane and everyone treats you really nicely. I felt really, not uncomfortable, but I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like when I first flew Emirates First Class, I just felt completely out of place.
Yeah.
Like they just come for everything. They pour you the coffee, give you the dates, and that's all before takeoff.
Yeah, now this flight, because it's only 3 hours or so, you don't get everything. So you don't get the pajamas. I didn't get the caviar, but some other Point Hack staff who flew it this year did get caviar on the return flight. So that one's a bit up in the air. But I think you get pretty much everything else.
Pretty much. And I think I've heard you can ask for the pajamas, and if they have them on board already from a previous flight, then they'll still be happy to offer them to you.
Yeah, so it's a great taste of first class without spending too much time in the air. If you've got a small amount of Qantas points and want to go for that particular experience, it's well worth it.
Yeah, and we've got some good news for you because, well, for anyone wanting to book this reward, because it used to be 64,500 points, but now Emirates has moved back to the Qantas table. So even though there's been an increase, it's quite modest. So this award will set you back 65,300 points now. That's an increase of only 800 points. So,
Okay. So
yeah, easy. You can still keep flying first class.
I would definitely do that if I'm flying to New Zealand. I would probably. Personally, I would find a way to do it again because I had such a good time.
Another thing to note is Emirates normally charges pretty high fees for its business and first class rewards, but the Sydney to Christchurch flight is what they call a Fifth Freedom flight, so it doesn't go through Dubai, and the fees and taxes on that flight are quite reasonable. So overall, it's a great use of your Qantas points.
Yeah, it was like $120 or something.
Yeah. Whereas if you fly all the way to Europe in business or first, you're up for like $1,800 in fees.
Correct.
Yeah.
At that point, you're pretty much better off flying economy. Unless you really want to fly.
Unless you really want. There's still some value there, but definitely the high fees and taxes erodes it quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay, number 2.
Yeah, so number 2 on my list is China Airlines. So that's one of the carriers that flies to and from Taiwan. And in my opinion, it's quite an underrated airline. So it's a super product, beautiful seats, great catering, pretty friendly staff. This used to cost 75,000 Qantas points before the change. It's now up to 90, so it's quite a significant jump. But I'd say it's still worth the points if you want to fly to Asia. So you can connect onwards from Taiwan to the rest of Asia or even to Europe. They fly to a few destinations around there as well, and it's quite a good use of your Qantas points.
So it's a good way to get in position to fly somewhere else as well.
And of course, if you want to explore Taiwan as a destination, it's a beautiful place as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I'd say, look, the 15,000 points increase is not great, but I would still fly China Airlines at that price.
Yeah, cool. All right, number 3, riding with Cathay Pacific to Hong Kong.
Yes. So
very popular one.
Very popular, and unfortunately subject to the same increase. So it was 75, now it's 90,000 Qantas points. For that price, I would still happily fly Cathay Pacific. They have a great onboard product, and if you're flying from Hong Kong, the lounges there are magnificent. So especially if you can get into the Pier business class lounge, it's got so many cool features. You could easily spend hours there.
What are some of the features there? Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you haven't heard, some of the features include a noodle bar, so a lot of fresh dishes, dim sum, wonton noodles. There's a tea house where you can choose from like a large selection of teas that are brewed right in front of you in your individual teapot, and you can take it away and pour it yourself. It's all very fancy. Nice. There's relaxation rooms, and yeah, just plenty of drinks at the bar. So yeah, you'll be quite happy there.
Is that one where it'd be better off leaving from Hong Kong to fly somewhere then?
Yeah. So if possible, I would try book Cathay Pacific departing from Hong Kong. So whether that's Hong Kong onwards to Europe or to Asia or to the US, or Hong Kong back to Australia, that's the direction I would go if possible, just so you maximize the experience on your reward seat.
Yeah, awesome. So that's a good tip overall, is look at, if you're interested in the lounges and you've got a bit of time to kill before your flight, look at what lounges you have access to with your business class ticket. Yeah,
so in Hong Kong, you have so many choices. There's a few Cathay Pacific lounges, but I'd also recommend checking out the Qantas lounge if you can, depending on what time your flight is. The Qantas lounge does beautiful Australian style coffee in the mornings. There's a dim sum cart that comes around. And in the evenings, they have char siu pork and rice as one of their main dishes. So it's worth having a look as well.
Yeah, and with your ticket with Cathay Pacific get you into that?
Yeah, certainly. So if you have a business class ticket with Cathay Pacific, you can access any other One World airline lounge, which includes Qantas in Hong Kong.
Awesome. So do a little lounge crawl.
Yeah, a little lounge hopping.
Number 4, what have we got?
So we're still in Asia, and Japan Airlines to Tokyo is a pretty good option. Now the flight to Tokyo is a bit longer, so this used to be 90,000 points, now it's 108,000, so we're going a bit over. At that point, it's a bit iffy, I think. Like Japan Airlines has a superb product as well. So especially if you love Japanese food, the dining is incredible. Yeah. But usually the seats that they fly to and from Australia are not the latest seats. So it's what we call the Apex suite, which comes in a 222 or on some aircraft a 232 layout. The point of difference is every seat does have direct aisle access. So it's staggered a bit. So even the middle seat person has their own little passageway. I think you've flown it as well, right?
Yeah, I flew it earlier this year from Narita to Melbourne, I believe, if I remember correctly. And when I got my ticket and booked, I saw that it said window seat, and I was like, great. And unfortunately, I was technically at the window, but there was another guy kind of like sat a little bit ahead of me, but in the same row. And that didn't put me in a good mood because I wanted to see out of the window, but instead I had like the aisle just right here. That said, the food was amazing. The service was great. I loved it, but it was a good lesson in maybe check what flight you're on before you book a business class ticket.
I mean, within airline fleets, there can be huge differences in the seats they have available. Having said that, it's still a flatbed. It's comfortable, but it's probably not the best seat out there.
So one thing I noticed. With Japan Airlines, I've flown them a couple of times now. Their cabins are a lot warmer than other airlines. Do you feel the same?
Yeah. I feel like that's a trend with Asian airlines in general. They do turn up the heat quite a bit. So to the point it gets a bit uncomfortable, but they're used to it, You can ask the cabin crew to try turn it down, and sometimes they will.
Also, just with Japan Airlines, I'm very sorry, but I ate the Western dish on the way home.
That's okay. How was it?
It was good. I actually can't remember what it was. If I have footage of it, there'll be a clip playing right now.
I mean, it could be a steak, right? They normally have a steak option or fish or something.
For those who aren't watching on YouTube, Brandon, as always, knows his stuff. I got a steak. But judging by my expression here, perhaps I should have gone with the Japanese instead. We'll be right back.
This episode of Point Hacks is brought to you by us, specifically our free email subscription. If you're sitting on a stack of points, but you're having trouble finding flights, this is for you. Each week, we share flight itineraries that you can book with points to destinations all over the world, including available travel dates, the points needed, how much cash you could save by booking with points, and even step-by-step instructions on how to book. You'll also get access to our full back catalogue of over 70 destination itineraries, plus our growing community of over 75,000 point hackers in the comments. And if you've got a question, our community and team of point experts will be there to help you. Sign up for free at the link in the show description. All you need is an email address.
Okay, number 5.
So number 5 is Qantas Business Class to Asia. And we left it quite broad because out of Sydney and Melbourne, they do fly to quite a few destinations across Asia. So that used to cost 68,400 Qantas points. That's a number that's been burned into my memory for years, but now it's 82,100. So once again, it is a bit of a sizable increase, but I think Qantas Business Class is still worth it at that point because their fees and taxes aren't too bad overall, and the product is solid. Like on the Airbus A330s, you have the lie flat seat, which are quite wide. You know, if you're doing the overnight flight back from Asia to Australia, it's good for an overnight sleep. You know, it's a pretty consistent product, which is good and bad in some ways because I feel like the food is probably not the best, but the service is normally quite good. You know, Qantas are known for their, you know, friendly banter, and you know, it just really sets the scene, especially when you're coming home from overseas. And especially if you're using your Qantas points, they do often release more seats on these flights in batches. So if you time it right, you could get, you know, access to quite a few reward seats on one flight.
Next, first class to Singapore with Qantas.
Yes, so on the Airbus A380 between Sydney and Singapore, you can book first class. It used to be 102,600 points, so it's a bit over 100k, but you know, that's manageable. It's now 123,100.
Okay, that's
so
like a 20% jump.
Quite a big jump. And at that point, I'm a bit iffy. For Qantas first class, it's supremely comfortable, right? You get a super wide seat, very comfortable bed. But you know, compared to other first class products, I would say the food and the service probably isn't quite there. So for that price, 123,000 points, I would probably be happy flying business for 80,000 points instead. You know,
You still get live flight if you want to. You still get the nice service,
Yeah.
but you're not shelling out an extra 40k points.
Yeah. I mean, like the first lounges are excellent, and I absolutely adore the Qantas Singapore First Lounge. The staff there are so friendly.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, on balance, business class still gets you most of the perks that you're after. You know, which is the lie flat bed and the lounge access and the dining and the luggage allowance.
Nice. And it's under 100,000 points.
Yeah, and 80 is 100, under 100,000.
Which was the whole point of this article originally.
So yeah, 123, a bit of a stretch. Like if you can go for it, go for it. But if you're looking to save points for a future trip, 40,000 points can go a long way somewhere else.
Yeah. Next is Rome to Rome, or Los Angeles in Qantas Premium Economy.
Yeah, so Qantas Premium Economy is a bit of a mixed piece. I find it quite comfortable, but the main complaint from me and most other flyers is there's probably not quite enough space between each row. So if someone reclines, it does, you know, encroach on your space a bit. But having said that, it's quite a premium product. So some airlines, they pitch premium economy as like an economy plus. I feel like Qantas does it more like a business minus, which is a good thing. You get, you know, proper meal service, you know, cutlery, glasses. I think that makes a difference, and a lot more choices of food and beverages as well.
Yeah.
From Rome to Perth, it used to cost 81,300 Qantas points. It's now 97,600. So it's still quite a big increase. But given that this is like a 16-hour journey, I would still be comfortable paying that for the comfort of premium economy.
Do you know off the top of your head how much business class would cost for that?
Yeah, business class. Okay, no. Okay, on the old rates I did, but let me just look it up. It'd be about 130,000 points now. So it's about like 33,000 points more than premium. If business is available, definitely go for that. You know, for 33,000 points, it's a no-brainer. You get the lie flat bed and everything. But if premium economy is your only option, and sometimes, you know, there will be seats in premium but not in business, then I would still go for that.
For our audience who might have flown 737 domestic business class, how does that kind of compare to these premium economy seats? To me, they look pretty
are
similar.
quite similar in a way. I'd say the premium economy seat's a bit more advanced. So yeah, it's got the newest in-flight entertainment. It's got, you know, swing out leg rests, and the thing I like the most actually is the pillow they give you. It attaches to the headrest behind. Like there's a little slip-on cover, and then so the pillow is always there. You know, it's such a basic thing, but it makes a big difference in comfort as well.
So number 8, trek to North America in economy return.
So Qantas Economy can be a good use of points depending on the time of year and when you travel. So it used to cost 41,900 points to fly to LA. It's now closer to 48,000 points, so 7,000 points increase. Look, it's still okay value, but I think if you have a cash fare that's on sale, that's probably going to be better than using your points for this. And if you can, save your points for a future business class ticket.
Why would you recommend people save their money for business class flights?
Yeah, it's just the value you get with economy on a per point basis is generally lower than what you can get in business class. So like if you can use your Qantas points to fly economy, then by all means do that. But if you think the cash fare is reasonable and you can save your points for a future flight, I would just go for the cash fare because you earn points and status on that, and then your points will go further when you can get a business class or premium economy redemption down the track.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But hey, if you just want to get somewhere, it's a great
I mean,
business.
I've flown Qantas economy and I would happily redeem points for it again if I had to. But if given the choice, I would still go for business class.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so number 9 is actually the whole reason I got into points in the first place. It's jetting from the eastern states to Perth or Auckland in Qantas's A330 in business class.
Yeah, it's a great use of points, and actually for me it was one of the first flights I did in business as well. So my friends and I, from being from Perth, we love to visit Melbourne. So my first redemption was actually Virgin Australia, Perth to Melbourne on the A330 business. Yeah, so because of the competition with Virgin Australia previously, Qantas has the Airbus A330 with international standard business class seats flying on some of the domestic routes. So mainly between Perth to Sydney and Melbourne. And if you can get a reward seat on those Airbus A330 flights, you'll get a much better experience than on the Boeing 737.
Yeah, I've had a lot of mates who've asked me about upgrading. A lot of people flying from Perth to Melbourne, for example, them getting an upgrade and then being like, it was just a nicer seat. And I'm like, no, you have to find the A330. How do you find it?
Well, I mean, I just look at the flight schedule. So I go on the Qantas.com and see the options. And in the corner, it shows you if it's a 737 or an Airbus A330, and you can book from there. But it's worth noting that aircraft types are never guaranteed. So even if you book an A330, they could swap it to a 737 if something happens down the track and they need to, swap the airplanes around.
In my last flight back to Perth, I actually had the reverse happen where it was a 737 and it ended up being a 787 that just needed to be repositioned.
That's a lucky upgrade.
So I got awesome international business class. I think it was flying on to Paris or London at the time. So that was like an awesome little win.
And so with the points, it used to cost 41,500 Qantas points. The good news is this hasn't increased too much. So it's now up to 43,600 Qantas points. So, if I ever want to fly east-west business class, I'd happily use my Qantas points on that again. But it's worth noting that you can also book Qantas business class with other airline programs. So one that I want to quickly shout out is Avios, so British Airways Avios. You can fly Perth to Melbourne in business class for just 22,000 Avios. So if you transfer, for example, American Express rewards points to Cathay Airways, and then from there you swap them over to British Airways, you can lock in a seat for just 22,000 Avios instead of the 43,600 Qantas points.
All right, that's a pretty good deal as well.
Yeah, but it just applies to certain shorter routes. So Perth to Melbourne's fine, but Perth to Sydney is too long, so that price is a lot higher.
Oh, right, so it just ticks over.
Yeah, so Perth to Melbourne just kind of fits in that price bracket.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So those are your 9 top picks for how to spend 100,000 Qantas points. Is there anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, so upgrades can be good value, probably better value than booking outright. But the thing to note is it is more difficult to get an upgrade because in most cases it goes down to a waiting list and then you're prioritized by your status, by your fare type and quite a few other factors. For domestic flights though, if there is business reward availability, normally you can get an upgrade confirmed straight away. So just keep an eye out for those business reward seats. They will appear in red as a classic reward, not in blue as a classic plus. So if you see a red classic reward, you should be able to go online or call Qantas and get an upgrade straight away on domestic flights. Nice. But for international flights, you do have to join the wait list. So that's why if you have lower status, often you will miss out.
Okay, so that's a good one if you've got status most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing you can do with Qantas points is short domestic economy flights. They're normally quite expensive, right? These regional flights, but with points, they can be decent value. So I'm talking like really short routes that are under 600 miles. So, you've got like Perth to Gelton, Adelaide to Kangaroo Island, Sydney to Canberra, those sort of routes. They used to cost 8,000 Qantas points, but with the increase, it's now around 9,200 Qantas points. So it's still a reasonable amount, and you can get at least sort of 10 short flights with 100,000 Qantas points with an economy reward seat.
I know a lot of people do collect Qantas points just to offset the price of flying regionally as well. So that's a pretty good shout.
Yeah, like especially where I live in Perth, there's always complaints that flying regionally to northern WA is quite expensive. So Exmouth or Broome, for example. But with Qantas points, it can be a really cost-effective way to book those flights.
Nice. All right, so that's the list. Out of all of these, which one is your dream pick?
So I've flown Emirates First Class before, and I'd love to experience it again. So I think I'd try for the Sydney to Christchurch option in the future.
Even if it's just 3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours, it's fine. 65,000 points and, under $200 in taxes. Sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, it's a pretty good win. And then you end up in New Zealand, one of the best, most beautiful places on
Go
earth.
on a lovely road trip.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks for that, Brandon. That was very insightful. I've got one more for you. Let me know if you think it's a good idea. Spending just over 100,000 Qantas points to unlock Qantas Gold from zero status credits.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a great use of your Qantas points actually, because normally it involves quite a bit of flying to reach Qantas Gold and quite a bit of spend.
Yes.
So, with the right conditions, which I imagine was Points Club and double status credits.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, if you can spend just over 100,000 points to unlock Gold, it's a bit of a tough slog, isn't it? But I think it's worth it.
Yeah, well, I did it. I actually tried that out. I personally wouldn't do it again, unless you're someone who flies a lot. But in which case, you probably already did unlock Qantas Gold. So,
it was an interesting experiment, regardless.
Yes. I did this experiment, and you can check it out in the show description below if you want to spend 100,000 Qantas points earning gold. We've also got Brandon's article down there if you want to check it out and have a read. And hey, if you want more tips to earn and burn your Qantas points or Velocity points and talk everything frequent flyer points, you can follow us here at Point Hacks. Let us know in the comments how you would spend 100,000 Qantas points. And as we say at the end of every episode,
Don't forget to turn left.